What if the person you trust the most is hiding a horrifying secret? Today, we unravel a chilling case that will leave you questioning how far someone will go to protect their lies. This is the tragic story of Caroline Crouch, a young mother whose life was stolen, and the shocking truth that followed. Caroline Crouch was 20 years old, a bright, adventurous spirit living in Greece with her husband, Babis Anagnostopoulos, a commercial pilot, and their 11-month-old daughter. Born to a British mother and Greek father, Caroline's upbringing was split between the UK and Greece, giving her a unique love for both cultures and the sea. Strong, determined, and passionate, Caroline embraced life's challenges. She was a scuba diver, a devoted mother, and someone who loved adventure. On the surface, she seemed to have it all: a stable home, a loving husband, and a beautiful baby girl. But behind the scenes, things were far from perfect. To the world, Caroline and Babis appeared to have a fairy tale life. Social media was filled with smiling photos of the couple, basking in their picturesque suburban life in Athens. Yet, as we've learned all too often, appearances can be deceiving. Friends and neighbors would later recount whispers of tension, signs that not all was well in the Anagnostopoulos household. Behind the happy facade lay a marriage rife with control, manipulation, and growing darkness. On the night of May 11th, 2021, the peaceful silence of their Athens home was violently shattered. Babis called the police in a panic, his voice shaking as he described a brutal home invasion. According to him, masked robbers had broken into the house, tied him up, and suffocated his wife in front of their crying baby. He claimed they ransacked the home, taking 10,000 euros hidden in a Monopoly board game box, and even killed their family dog, Roxy, by hanging her with her own leash. When police arrived, the scene was horrifying. Furniture had been overturned, drawers ransacked, and valuables scattered. Caroline's lifeless body was found face down on the bed, suffocated with a pillow, while their infant daughter was crying beside her, too young to understand the tragedy that had unfolded. And then, there was Roxy, hanged at the top of the stairs, a detail that would send shockwaves through the public. At first, everything seemed to fit Babis's story. A violent home invasion gone terribly wrong, ending in the death of a young mother. The media sympathized with Babis, painting him as a grieving widower, clutching his baby at Caroline's funeral with tears streaming down his face. But as the days went on, small cracks began to appear in the story he had woven. As investigators delved deeper into the case, red flags began to surface. First, there were no signs of forced entry. An odd detail in a supposed home invasion. How had the intruders entered the house so easily? Forensics teams scoured the crime scene for any DNA, fingerprints, or clues that would lead them to the perpetrators, but they came up empty-handed. Then there were the neighbors. Despite the violent nature of the crime, no one heard any signs of a struggle, no shouting, no cries for help. The only sound reported that night was the unsettling whimper of the dog, Roxy. Before she was silenced forever, the police pursued leads, including the arrest of a Georgian national who fit the description of one of the attackers. But after days of interrogation, it became clear that this man had no connection to the crime. Every road led to a dead end. It seemed as though this case would remain unsolved, but technology had a way of uncovering the truth. Caroline's smartwatch, a simple device that tracked her heart rate and movement, became the key to unraveling Babis's lies. Data from the watch revealed that Caroline's heart had stopped hours before Babis claimed the intruders had broken in. At 4:05 a.m., her pulse spiked, indicating severe physical or emotional stress. By 4:11 a.m., her heart had stopped completely. This crucial piece of evidence contradicted the timeline Babis had provided, forcing investigators to reconsider everything. But the smartwatch wasn't the only damning evidence. Babis's own fitness tracker revealed that he had been moving around the house during the time he claimed to be tied up and unconscious. This data showed that Babis had not been a helpless victim. He had been actively staging the crime scene. Perhaps the most incriminating discovery came from the house's security cameras. Investigators found that the memory card from the camera had been removed hours before the supposed break-in. This was no robbery. This was something much darker. On June 17, 2021, the police decided it was time to confront Babis with the mounting evidence. They approached him quietly during Caroline's memorial service on the island of Alonissos. Surrounded by grieving family and friends, Babis agreed to accompany the officers to Athens for further questioning. What followed was hours of intense interrogation. At first, Babis stuck to his story. He described the masked intruders, their threats, and how they had tied him up and killed Caroline. But as investigators laid out the evidence, Caroline's smartwatch data, Babis's own movements, the missing security footage, his story began to unravel. Finally, the weight of his lies became too much to bear. In a tearful confession, Babis admitted the unthinkable. There had been no intruders. There had been no robbery. In a fit of rage, Babis had killed Caroline after an argument escalated. She had threatened to leave him, and in a desperate attempt to maintain control, he suffocated her with a pillow. But the horror didn't end there. In a calculated effort to cover his tracks, Babis staged the entire scene, ransacking the house, killing their dog, and tying himself up. He then waited hours before calling the police, confident that his story would fool everyone. The world was stunned. Babis, the grieving husband who had tearfully begged for justice, was the killer all along. His confession sent shockwaves through Greece and beyond, as people struggled to comprehend how someone could go to such lengths to cover up their crime. In May 2022, Babis Anagnostopoulos was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of his wife, Caroline Crouch. He was also convicted of animal cruelty and misleading the authorities. The court found that his actions were premeditated and calculated, with no mitigating circumstances. Caroline's family, who had once trusted Babis implicitly, were left devastated by the truth. Their daughter's life had been stolen by the very person who was supposed to protect her. Caroline Crouch's life was tragically cut short by the person she trusted most. Her story is a haunting reminder that not everything is as it seems, and that sometimes the greatest dangers come from within our own homes. As we remember Caroline, we must also remain vigilant, both for ourselves and for those who may be suffering in silence.